We all live with thoughts that undermine our self-esteem, ideas that push us down, and invisible habits that turn into storms. I used to want to escape it all, but I discovered that mental health isn't a luxury. It's infrastructure. It's like building a house capable of withstanding storms. In my case, the turning point came when I realized that thriving in life doesn't depend solely on making money or hitting targets. It also requires emotional balance, empowering beliefs, and tools that support us on tough days. That's why I've selected 10 habits that transformed my relationship with myself, and when applied consistently, empowered me to truly thrive. And the best part, none demand great resources. They require presence, courage, and quiet discipline. Like and subscribe, because what follows might be the turning point in your emotional and mental journey and how you choose to flourish. 1. I started paying attention to what I was saying to myself, and everything changed. The first thing I noticed when I began actually caring for my mental health was the tone of my inner voice. It was critical, impatient, sarcastic. It pushed me as if I were a machine. It belittled me for not being strong enough, and the cruelest part, I didn't even realize it. One day I stopped to listen. Literally. I wrote down everything I told myself mentally whenever I made a mistake, when something went wrong, or when someone rejected me. And it was terrifying. I would never say those things to someone I love, but I was saying them to myself, every single day. So I began a new habit. Every time I caught myself self-sabotaging, I stopped and rephrased, not to force a positive spin, but to be fair. Instead of "you're a failure," I said, "you're learning, and that's how you grow." Instead of "you're too slow," I said, "you're moving at your own pace, and that's okay." That small shift sparked a healing wave. I started treating myself with more respect, and like magic, my confidence began to rise. Because the most important voice in your life is your own, and when it becomes your friend, everything changes. Comment below. My inner voice now empowers me, if you're also ready to treat yourself like your best ally. To my body was screaming what my mind tried to hide, and I learned to listen. For years, I thought fatigue was normal, that a daily headache was just tension, that knot in my stomach before bed was just a bit of anxiety, until the day I understood my body was the faithful messenger of my neglected mind. It told me when I was swallowing emotions, when I said yes but meant no, when I insisted on relationships, routines, and environments that drained me. But I didn't listen. I stuffed myself with coffee, ignored the signals, and stayed on autopilot. And the bill eventually came. It always did. The turnaround came when I accepted that my body wasn't hindering me, it was protecting me. And I started observing with more sensitivity. Why does my chest tighten in certain situations? When does my stomach lock up? When do I feel lightness in my body? Which spaces energize me? Which bring me peace? I began adjusting my routine based on those signals, respecting my limits, seeking emotional support, sleeping better, moving my body kindly, not from guilt. And as a result, my mental health blossomed. Today, if anything guides me, it's listening to my body. Because it speaks. And when you listen, it repays you with balance. Comment below. My body is my guide, not my enemy. If you too have learned that your emotional health lives in the physical details. 3. My routine became my refuge. When I stopped treating it like a prison, I grew up believing routine was for boring people, that planning the day killed spontaneity, that being free meant waking up and doing whatever you felt like. But that freedom led me into a constant cycle of anxiety. Without structure, I was always putting out fires. I woke up already late, forgot appointments, ate anything, went to bed exhausted with no idea what I'd actually done. It was only when I started structuring my days that I realized the right routine doesn't trap you, it frees you. I set times, focus blocks, real breaks, a morning ritual just for me, and I stopped doing everything on impulse. The funny thing? I felt lighter, more present, with more time, because I knew what was coming next, and my body relaxed into that predictability. My mood improved, my productivity shot up, and my mental health gratefully settled in, quietly, every day. Routine isn't rigidity, it's organized self-care. It's knowing there's a safe place within your own day. Comment below. My routine is my foundation, if you also want to transform chaos into clarity. And when I started prioritizing myself, I realized it wasn't selfish. For a long time, I put everyone else first. Family, friends, coworkers, even strangers. I said yes, even when my body was screaming no. I thought that to be a good person, I had to give all the time. And the more I gave, the emptier I felt. Until one day, exhausted to the point of collapse, I realized no one was coming to rescue me. If I didn't put myself first, no one else would. And I started flipping the script. I set boundaries. Not aggressive. Clear. I learned to say no without over-explaining. I started setting time aside for myself. Every single day. Real time, not leftovers. Time to read, breathe, walk, just exist. Without performance. And surprisingly, people started respecting me more. Because when you respect yourself first, the world gets the message. Prioritizing my mental health became my foundation, not a reward. And from that place, I was finally able to be more present, more generous, more clear with others. Now I know, taking care of myself doesn't make me less empathetic. It makes me whole. Comment below. I put myself first because I know my worth. If you've also realized that self-care is an act of courage. I learned to sit in silence, and it answered what the noise had been hiding. I used to run from silence like it was an enemy. I needed music, people talking, videos playing, anything to fill the empty space. I thought silence made me anxious. But the truth is, it was in silence that anxiety revealed itself. That's when I decided to face it. I started small, 5 minutes a day, no phone, no stimulation, just me, my breath, and whatever came up. The first few days were uncomfortable. Racing thoughts, unwanted memories, self-criticism. But I stuck with it. And little by little I realized it wasn't the silence that hurt me. It was the internal noise I'd been avoiding. The more I practiced, the more silence became a safe space, where I could process what I felt, recognize what needed healing, and access a calm that never came from the outside. Now it's my sacred space. I've made it a ritual, even if just for a few minutes. Because that's where my mind breathes and my heart speaks. Comment below. Silence also empowers me, if you're ready to face your truth with more gentleness and presence. 6. When I started breaking my own beliefs, my reality began to shift. The hardest part of my mental journey wasn't learning something new. It was unlearning, questioning ideas I'd carried forever. Things like, I'll never be good enough. Money is hard to come by. People like me don't make it. I have to suffer to deserve. These phrases were deeply rooted. They were part of me. I didn't even notice them, but they shaped everything. My results, my choices, my relationships. I started a daily exercise. Every time a limiting thought popped up, I wrote it down. And then I asked, is this true or just an old story I keep repeating? Most of the time it was just an echo from the past, from inherited fears, old experiences, or voices that weren't mine. Then with intention I rewrote them. I created new affirmations that aligned with the woman I wanted to become. I repeated them, even if I didn't believe them at first. I stuck with them until they became my new foundation. The mind believes what you feed it. And if you nourish new ideas consistently, they become just as strong as the ones that held you back for so long. Comment below. I choose to rewrite my beliefs. If you've also realized that inner change is the first step to thriving on the outside. 7. When I stopped trying to control everything, lightness finally showed up. For a long time, I carried the weight of trying to control everything. My results, people's reactions, timing, even the unexpected. I believed that if I stayed in control, nothing would go wrong. But what I actually got was anxiety, frustration, and guilt. Only after many cycles of exhaustion did it hit me. Total control is an illusion. And living in a constant attempt to manage the unmanageable is the recipe for unhappiness. So I started doing things differently. I focused on what I truly could control. My focus, my reaction, my pace, my energy. The rest, I let go. I release it. And let the universe play its part. That doesn't mean being passive. It means trusting more and stressing less. Because many of the things that most transformed my life came from paths I would have never planned. Today, when something doesn't go as expected, I take a deep breath and think, maybe this is redirection, not rejection. And with that lightness, my mental health flourished. Less tension, less guilt, less pressure, more presence, more flow. Comment below. I choose to trust more and control less, if you also want to live with less weight and more peace. I discovered my mind also needs rest, not just productivity. The truth is, I used to feel guilty just for resting. Taking time for myself felt like laziness. Turning off my phone for an hour felt irresponsible. Sitting in silence, doing nothing, seemed like wasted time. But slowly I realized, my mind wasn't a machine, and I'd been treating it like one. It was exhausted, anxious, unable to create, to solve, to think clearly, and all of it was a reflection of no pause. So I started practicing mental rest as a discipline. I stopped treating rest as a reward and started treating it as a need. I turned off notifications, created disconnection rituals, took walks without headphones, allowed myself moments of non-productivity, and the result? My mind blossomed. Ideas returned. Clarity. Focus. I began to feel more creative, more present, more at ease. Because it's not about doing more. It's about doing better. And that only happens when you let yourself pause. Today, rest is part of my growth plan. Because a tired mind builds nothing. A healthy mind builds everything. Comment below, I give my mind guilt-free rest, if you're also ready to treat yourself more generously. Price comparison almost made me quit, until I realized my journey is unique. For a long time, every time I made some progress, I'd look around and feel behind all over again. I saw other women more successful, faster, more organized, and I'd ask myself, what's wrong with me? It was like running a marathon while staring at the other lane. No matter how far I went, it never felt enough, and that drained my energy, stole my self-esteem, and dimmed the shine of every achievement. Until one day, I stopped everything and asked myself an honest question. What if I'm exactly where I need to be? That's when the liberation began. I took my focus off comparison, put it on consistency, started celebrating my small wins, honoring my own pace, my story, my circumstances. I discovered that lasting success comes from within. It comes from authenticity, not speed, and that I can only bloom when I accept my own soil, instead of envying someone else's garden. Today, every win of mine is full, because I know I'm not competing with anyone, just growing into my best self. Comment below. My only comparison is with myself, if you're also ready to step out of the invisible race and honor your journey. Dear, I learned that asking for help doesn't weaken me, it strengthens me. For a long time, I thought I had to handle everything on my own. That admitting exhaustion was failure. That saying I'm not okay meant I lacked gratitude or strength. So I smiled on the outside while falling apart on the inside. I held it all. Career, emotions, home, appearance, as if it were my duty to handle it perfectly. But what I didn't see was that the loneliness was self-imposed. No one was demanding that of me. I was the one demanding perfection. The turning point came when, utterly drained, I finally said out loud what had been suffocating me. And unlike what I expected, I wasn't judged. I was embraced. Asking for help didn't make me smaller. Quite the opposite. It made me stronger because it connected me. I received support. I got guidance. I felt empathy. And that support gave me the breath to keep going. Today, I know that being strong doesn't mean carrying everything alone. It means knowing when to share the load. It's not weakness. It's emotional maturity. And asking for help is an act of courage, especially in a world that values the appearance of independence over real well-being. Comment below, I deserve support and don't have to carry everything alone. If you've also realized that allowing yourself to receive is part of the healing journey. After so many internal turning points, I realized that nothing that changed in my life started on the outside. It all started here inside, in how I thought, how I treated myself, how I organized myself, and how I respected myself. These 10 practices weren't magic. They were built. One small brick of awareness a day. One small choice today, another tomorrow. And before I knew it, the foundation was solid. My mental health became the center of my life, not the last item on the list. And from there, everything began to thrive. My relationships, my self-esteem, my financial decisions, my sense of worth. You don't have to change everything at once. You just need to start. And if this video sparked something in you, tell me in the comments. Which of these habits will you start practicing today? I read every single one. And knowing this message reached you already makes it all worth it. And before you go, remember, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this with a woman who deserves to flourish with lightness. Because when a woman chooses to care for her mind, she cares for her whole life.